So this is the NAFIO SIG Release Meetings for October 23rd, 2023. Thank you. Okay, before we actually get the regular agenda started, I would like to remind everyone that the SIG chairs and TSC self-nominations for elections is this Friday, I believe. I don't think there's anything from Kenny to talk about postponing. So it's this Friday. So if you're interested, please self-nominate for any of the SIG chairs or TSC. I think TSC has some other requirements, but anyway, it is for SIG chairs. For contributors of R1, please self-nominate if you're interested. And on that vein, I would like to also say that I am not going to run for SIG 3 chair for the after this released. So for the SIG 3 people that are contributing to SIG 3, which they're fielded here, they're here. And then for people that are interested, please nominate yourself for SIG 3 chair for the next release, because I won't be. And for that, I would actually like to take this very, I don't want to hog on the meeting too long, but for this little opportunities, I would like to thank people who actually contributed to SIG Released over R1 and right now R2. It started with the ONE Summit, I guess, when I started being thrust to the SIG 3 chairships. The folks of Bala, Vish, Sandeep Sharma, Victor and Joel, who actually did a lot of work, heavy lifting for ONE Summit to put the sandbox together. Vim, obviously, after that, bringing container labs for our sandboxes. Bala for actually agreed to be our release managers. Victor and Vish continuing doing the test infra. And I think it goes without saying, but it's probably worth talking, that we all have to thank, and as a chair now, outgoing chair, I have to really thank Rado for all his work for SIG 3. So thank you guys. And after that, let's go to the agenda. Is there anything from Bala?
Thanks, Stephen, and thanks for your leadership. And it's been, it's good. I'm bummed that you're not running, but I can understand. But thank you for everything. Thank you so much.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
So anything from Bala in terms of tracking release 2, or anything from Rado in terms of updating? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I will. From the tracking perspective, we generally do in SIG automation. So, Rado, one thing is I brought it to the notice of Tal that you're looking for some permissions for the experimental repo. I think Tal is going to help us with that one to give the access, etc. So, so I think Rado, anything else on that one, or in general, any progress? Probably we can try to get the board and stuff.
On that note, we did talk about moving some repos from the POC repos to experimental, right? I think we have NAFIO POC and NAFIO POCs. And also, I think there's another repo, I forget its name, that was used in the summit from last year. Basically, we have the opportunity to do a little bit of cleanup, move some repos that are not part of our distribution anymore to experimental. But yeah, I didn't want to go ahead and do it on my own. I want to make sure that we're all aligned and we know exactly which repos to do. So maybe we can decide together, and I'm happy just to do the work to do that. And remind you, when you move repos in GitHub, the original name remains, and GitHub does an automatic redirect. So if we have links, URLs, etc., they will survive.
Cool.
Go ahead, Ben.
I think before we give the floor to Rado, I think probably Vim is.
Yeah. There's a hand up, so just wonder if Vim has something to say.
Yeah, so I have a different question actually, which is more regarding the end-to-end integration for R2. Because what I see is that these, right now what we do is we are checking the module test and stuff like that, right? So the functional testing. But what we see is because we changed the API, we somehow need to stitch it together. And I'm wondering how and when and who. It's probably part of your release plan, Bala, but I think we have to get this. So we start to get the pieces together, I think. So we need to get this going somehow.
Okay, you're saying that the end-to-end test that we have also needs to change to reflect the APIs.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For example, like
Yeah.
Akash did the NF deploy function, and then I think so there is still a change required. But what I'm trying to say is I believe this by the end of this week we have the changes with the functionality of R1 back in track, I think, which means that the sooner we start testing it end to end. So what, of course, Akash, so we have this pipeline test and specialization, right? So where we basically go to the whole thing, but to test it end to end is still a different thing, right? So that doesn't mean that nothing is not broken or something like that, because the operator needs to look at it properly and stuff like that. So we have all these individual tests for each of these elements. But I believe the sooner we stitch it together end to end, the faster we find issues if they exist. So my point is just, how do we start organizing ourselves around that? That's basically my question.
So one question there, I think Victor, just a last one. So just to understand him, so by the week end of this week, you said the whole things will be there in place, including the changes to the free 5GC operator that is needed to make this change. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think Rado, can you please? I think Rado is trying to set up some portion where he wants to run end-to-end automation.
Yeah, probably I can answer part of that question, Bala. One of the recent changes that I did in the test infra was to, I don't know if you remember, like we have tasks which are running on demand, and we have another ones which are just a priority test, which are running with the schedule. So what I have done is, especially for the priority test, I have changed it to pointing to them to the main branch. So technically, all the changes that are like now, like pushing and modifying of the packages and everything, we are testing that particular thing. I haven't seen the results of those executions, so I need to just double check with Rado, like how can we check, because it is not something that you are receiving as part of the PR, right? Because it's running.
So the issue we have today even is this, right? So let's say NF deploy gets checked in, the end-to-end test will break.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
because they are even in different repos, by the way. So one is in Free5GC and the other one is in Nefio. So we will. So if one gets checked in and the other one not, we will break the main. So the two mains will not interoperate anymore.
Yeah. So Rado, I think on that one, that's what I was thinking. The 373 run integration test prior to merging PRs. Where are we on that one? Did we lose Rado?
I think it's there, but can I ask a related question before Rado answers? So for anything that we do in a different repo, we have periodic tests running, right? End-to-end tests running, right? Victor, I thought you were working on that. Oh, no, Rado, we can't hear you.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like that's the priority task that we have is pointing to not to the stable release, it's pointing to the main branch. Obviously, if you modify one dependency and the other one is not there?
Yeah, it seems like we need another which points to main, right? You're saying that we needed to point to main?
No. That change has been already done. So basically, the priority task is just pointing to main. That's the current state. Like, so what we haven't done is checking the results of the execution.
Okay, maybe I'll sync up with you later. to
Sure. Yeah.
understand.
And my understanding, Vich, is that it seems that we have the changes in place to do so, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's good, right? Now the next thing is then we have to do this check-in and check or this merge in a coordinated way, right? Otherwise, we'll break them.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so one thing what we have is there's a PR 373. It's in progress. Rado has difficulty with his mic, I think.
Yeah.
Can you hear me guys now?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. Please go ahead, Rado. Now.
Nice. Yeah, I've been talking to myself here for quite a while. But I guess it's bad when you start, just answering to yourself, talking to yourself. So, yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, I've been on it for quite some time. But I guess it's about to be ready. So I have some bunch of scripts stitched together to basically generate images every PR and then do like end-to-end testing on these images. There are things that are like queuing this so we just don't kill our testing environment when there's like too much of it, or just gluing together a few commits to test them as one thing. So that's something that I'm just polishing right now. Hopefully, I will finish this this week. So every check, every submitting of the PR will actually spin the separate job which will report end-to-end test for this submission being tested on what we have now in end-to-end. There are few things around this also. So for example, like, do we want to test every change against things built in from main, or against things that are built from like the release code or something, or this should be maybe adjustable or something? So I don't know what you guys think, which will be better, because we can be like in a situation we have like concurrently built, let's say like 6 different images. So do we always like use the latest code, or do we kind of have to have the opportunity to pin some images versions or something? So those are things that are not really clear to me at this point. But this, I mean, it's adjustable. It's just a parameter, so this can be submitted along with the PR. So just to point to what the rest of the images versions have to be.
Yeah, I was thinking that the way we, at least the way we are operating as of now, the dependencies is always on the main, right? I don't know, at this point of time we're not big enough, or our dependencies are not so intricate. So probably is making a simplistic assumption that for once the release is done, obviously, let's say the release branch is not cut, we are working on the trunk now. So is it a reasonable assumption that every image that we are going to test against is from that main? Anybody? I mean, Wim, Steven?
Yeah, I think Vish was first with his hand. So
I thought Vish maybe a stale hand.
Yeah, stay land.
Yeah.
okay, sorry. I think we decided to use the main for now, right?
Yeah.
Whether we can sustain it going forward, that's a different thing. But I think given, yeah, I think we decided at some point to do so. So I'm fine with it, I think.
All right, cool.
I think the only thing right now why I'm bringing this up is because of this backward compatible thing, right? So if you start breaking it, it's better to reduce the downtime. If you see what I'm trying, that's what I was trying to point out, is how do we do so, right? Because the sooner we have everything in lockstep again, it will help us all, right? I mean, then sometimes a lot of things will be hidden because of the breaking.
cross repo test is integration test. Integration test is still not automated, right, at this point. So they're not blocking pre-submit, right? Even if it
correct. So the APRs go through. Yeah, correct. That's why I'm explicitly concerned at this stage. Yeah. That's why I was bringing it up.
So once Rado, you enable that particular job in 375 that you're working. So would that actually what does it actually do? Would that block a PR? Would that fail a PR?
Yeah, it can, or it can just display the message. Depends what.
Yeah, it wouldn't be able to, right? Because this is you're running it as an interval test, right? Not like a trigger test for every submit, every commit, right?
No, he wants to do it for every commit.
Yeah, for every. Really? That's the thing. Yeah.
How long is end-to-end test now?
It's about an hour, so that's.
Okay.
I guess we'll see how it will go. Right now, judging from the rate of our submissions, will be good.
Okay.
But
yeah, 2 weeks from now, probably not.
Yeah, we might come to the point when there's gonna be a deluge of PRs. So I'm just working at some way of piling up those changes and then like create like one big report pointing that also other jobs were issued to test with certain range of PRs in this particular run. So yeah, that's mainly one thing left there. Hopefully I will finish this by the end of the week, this week, and yeah, that's
okay. Tao, sorry.
Yeah, this is a more question maybe, or to join the discussion. I don't remember what we decided in the end regarding the relationship between our GitHub and our image tags, right? We have the opportunity, for example, for every branch to produce a tag and an image tag, and every GitHub tag to also produce a tag, and then decide what does latest mean. Is latest going to be an alias for our main branch tag, or probably not? I think it should be our last release, right? Because the way latest is by convention used in the world, it's like it's supposed to be the latest release.
Yeah, actually, at one point, I thought what we were saying is the end-to-end test is an interval test, and then we run it, let's say, daily, and then but we'll run it pre-submit for release branch. So 1.0, 1.1, 1.01, those branches will be, or 1.0 branch, R1 branch. Every commit with PR would be subjected to end-to-end test as part of pre-submit. But then I didn't think we were going to be able to that on main. And then, so at that point we were thinking that is our golden. So if every time this passes, we could automatically tag the branch and then maybe actually build an image and push it into a hub. But then obviously it's more sophisticated on that process. We're not really there yet.
So what we have now to illustrate it on currently created PR for OAI is that for the release build, it will take the branch created with, starting with V and so on for the version scheme with agreed on, and it will build the image which will be tagged with this tag, so with like v1.0.1 and so on, and also it will tag it as a latest. So as you Tal said, the latest will point to the latest release image. And the second job is it creates the image every commit to the main branch, and it is tagged with a build ID from Prow. So then you can backtrack which job created this image, So you can go and see like what Proud did. If you go here to the tags, you will see here that's the Proud job ID. So you can backtrack the job if it like see the logs if everything went okay, and then backtrack it to the basically like a Git point in a Git which created this image.
So Rado, what is that number that we see in the tags? Where does that come from?
Yeah, that's the Proud build
Proud
ID.
generated.
Oh, it's the Proud build ID. Okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
if you go to the Proud job and see in the job type post submit, you will have this build push image something thing. So that's the ID of this job. That's the thing. So
okay,
you can go take like this URL, let's say replace this with the tag name, and you will get your logs from the build. You will have the artifacts from like the build process and so on.
Okay, that's actually better than what I suggested because it's more useful to go to Prow than to GitHub. So, but from the Prow log, I can also see which Git commit and what the branch was, right? Just from the logs, I imagine.
Yes,
Okay.
you'll see also the job history, and you can go here to see like all on the bottom of it, all the information about about the job. And you will have also in variables, you have your Git SHA for the point in Git.
Okay, so small suggestion. I don't know if it's possible, but just to add prow as the word prow as a prefix to this ID. So if people are looking, they'll know what that ID is for, right? Because if you just see this number as a image tag,
like here in a tag.
Yeah, so it would be prefixed, say, with prow -17139, something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Because when I look at this ID, I don't know what it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure it was in a wiki here, but it might not be. So yeah,
right, but the wiki is on GitHub, and if I'm going just, if I'm a user of Nephi, I'm just going there and I see all these tags, I have no idea what to use and what they are.
Yeah, that's good idea. Yeah, I will add this. Yeah, cool. Yeah, good idea.
Thank you. Vish is next.
Yeah, so this is related to the earlier discussion. Just trying to understand. Sorry if you're repeating yourself there. So you said you're working on making sure for every PR, the end-to-end integration test. Are you saying in other repos, if something is actually, I know for today for the test infra repo, every PR actually we run as part of the commit, every commit, we run the entire end-to-end test both on Fedora and on Ubuntu, correct? So for other repos as well, are you planning to try and do that? Is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah, for basically for everything that creates Docker image. That's the thing. For like a KPT stuff or something, that's the part that Victor was working on, from what I understood.
Okay, and one recommendation there might be that, at least if not for every commit, if it's going to take a lot of time, at least for one, there's a manual way of doing it, right? Another is at least for merge. When you do a merge, before the merge, it has to pass before it gets merged. That might be the crawl, walk, run kind of a thing, if we want to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of like a limit of Prow here. So there is the pre-submit job which runs on a PR, and there is post-submit which run on the code which was already merged. And there are also like periodic jobs which you can run like a cron, like every 2 hours, every 5 days, whatever. And that's it. So you don't really have like the fourth type of job to squeeze it together, like you said, between the time of the
Yeah.
pre-submit test, and then like a pre-merge kind of job. So
It's
everything.
like, once somebody gets I mean, this is something I was used to in OpenStack, where the core reviewers and everybody will give their +1 and +2s, and then when it is ready to be merged, it will go through a VM will be created, functional tests will be run, and then if that passes, that's when the merge will happen. So that is what I was trying to see if it's possible. Seems like it is not, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it is complicated.
I see.
And I was also investigating kind of like offloading part of jobs from Prow to other CI environments, especially when you want kind of like a pipelining feature to stitch together few jobs. So the Prow lacks this functionality, and people are using, for example, Tecton pipelines, but their integration, meaning Prow and Tecton, is somehow it's not really there. I mean, there are some tries and some stitching and some glue code to make it work, but it's not only a finicky to set up, that's another thing, but it also is not really reliable. So sometimes the results of the logs from Tecton are not really properly grabbed by a Prow. So you get jobs that just hang there and so on. So I've spent a hefty amount of time trying to do something like this. And at one point, probably I would like to see the splitting of functionality. So to leave Prow to basically do what it's designed to do. So be kind of like a guard on the PRs, right? To control who can create PR if tests are allowed to run on this PR, and help with the automatic merge, stuff like this.
Oh, did we lose him again?
Yeah.
I think that we lost Rado.
Rado, we cannot
Rado?
hear you. Probably I'll message him. So when he's on Tal, is the access issue resolved for Rado for the experimental repo?
I didn't know there was an issue.
Yeah, I think he was saying that he wanted to set up the fundamental pro jobs just to check the copyright, things like that. In the last meeting he said he was not able to set up, and that's when I requested that from you.
Oh, I think I pointed him to talk to Kenny, who from Linux Foundation. But I think it would be best just to make Rado an admin of that whole group, so he can do whatever he wants there. I thought he was, though, but this is the issue, right? To make him a complete admin there, he needs Kenny's permission. I don't have that permission. So he needs to touch base with Kenny and make sure that he's an admin there.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Tom. I will also ping Kenny on that one.
Before going to another topic, so I just want to clarify the test infra, the end-to-end that we have in test infra. So basically, it's consuming the packages, the packages that are in FIO example packages and the other ones, and those have different versions. For example, right now we have a tag of all those packages, KPT packages, in version 1.01.1. So in other words, what I'm trying to say, if we use this approach, using different image tags, so as long as we don't reflect those things in the packages, are not going to be consumed by the end-to-end. So we have to coordinate all these things, so we have to make proper changes through the KPT packages that we're consuming in order to see how a particular commit is going to affect the end-to-end. I don't know if I explained correctly, but
No, sorry, Vish, to interrupt, but that's exactly my point. Why I raised it, Victor, because typically you see that the impact is a little bit everywhere.
yeah. I mean that's great. Like what we are doing in like using a specific tax for every single change. That's a good. That's one step. I think that the next step is just reflecting the same thing for the packages. And I guess if we do that, we in order like the end-to-end that we have in the test infra can easily take the change and just complete the end-to-end. But just the next thing that we have to do is just focus the packages version.
Sorry, I'm back. Seems like my internet provider is trying to get on my nerves very actively. Where was I? When did you lose me? What I was saying?
I think you were answering Vish that I think you answered this question. I think you said that based on any repo that produces a Docker image, you want to build this thing automatically.
Right.
And then I asked the question about Tall. I asked to Tall about our request to give you the rights to the experimental repo so that you can set up some of the jobs there. So he suggested that we talk to Kenny, and then I actually started a Slack chat with him. I think once you are made the admin there, that will unblock you from some of the tasks that is here.
Yeah, I will need this for Nephew experimental. To set up some pro stuff there.
Cool. And I know there is one more topic that we need to discuss, but before Ashish is here but before that, Rad, I was going to ask you, if we were to set up this on every PR request, and then if it takes an hour, I just heard from Vish that the job runs on both Fedora and Ubuntu. So do you think, running just one of the jobs, either Ubuntu or Fedora, on every PR, would that cut down the time? Or are they always run in parallel?
I think they're parallel.
They're parallel, yes.
So I wouldn't even recommend that actually, because I think it's, I know it's a question, but why? What would be the rationale for that? The only rationale is for if it is serial, you're thinking that it will take a longer time. That's the first motive of your question.
Yes. If it takes up time, I was thinking, do it on one configuration on every PR and do it for periodic for the whole setup. That was my thing. If it is parallel, if it doesn't reduce any time, then it doesn't make sense. Cool.
Yeah, it will not cut down time. I mean, it might look like 1 hour is a long time, but I've had setups where the whole pipeline of builds was taking like 15 hours or something. So and there were cases that locally tested code which looked fine actually in whole testing environment produced some unwanted results, and after 15 hours you will have to repeat it all over again. So I mean, if this, I mean, at least that's my position, if this will improve not only like a code quality but also like the like changes, the problems could be catched earlier on. Like 1 hour is not like a lot of time to sacrifice actually to check if it's really conforming with whatever we have in end-to-end tests.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Rad. That was just a question I wanted to get clarification on. Thank you. So Radu, before we get,
I think let me make a note on that point, Bala. I think at this point of time, most people are familiar with the end-to-end tests, running the end-to-end tests, which we have documented, which means, and also Victor has got Victor, correct me if I'm wrong, bringing up things in Vagrant and being able to run this end-to-end test. So developers will have a chance to test it out, also, if they want to, before pushing that PR too,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a good
right.
point. Yeah, I think we should recommend that one. Yeah. So, Rado, anything else for the items of the board? I know you're working things are progress, and I've initiated the dialogue with Kenny.
Yeah, so one actually thing that I would need will be this access rights for Nephew Experimental. And one thing more I wanted to ask you. So I've created an issue against the SIG release to create the build for OAI. But I cannot add like a R2 milestone here, so it will be visible.
Yeah, I will actually. Sorry, I will cut short your questions. I think let's create all the issues only in the Nephew repo.
And the Nephew, okay,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
cool.
I think
So
that will. I understood your question. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll close this one and
No, actually, I can move it. Actually, if you can just
Yep.
see, so we can just move this to Nephew repo instead of closing it.
Okay, cool. Would be great.
Okay, thank you. If you send me the, you can do it, or if you send me the link, I can do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just. I'll send you here on a Slack, so it will not.
Yep.
Disappear with a Zoom. All right. Cool.
Yeah, we are creating in one repo so that it's kind of easier for overall management.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Thanks, Rado. Appreciate it as always. So Stephen, Ashish wanted to discuss something. So do you have anything else before we?
Yeah, no, nothing else. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Ashish, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I have the help to operator SDK code in my particular setup, and I want to raise a pull request to get it merged with the Nephew GitHub. So I just want to know that if any additional things I need to add in the code, I mean any license headers or any issue ID in the pull request. So something like that things are there. So that I wanted to know actually.
So
I think license header is an auto check. So if you put a pull request, a pre-submit test will fail you if you don't have it.
So I need to add whatever's in the Nephew GitHub already. So okay, I will add those. And any other thing I need to add more inside of that code, if you have in mind.
You have you sign your CLA, so that's another check that would do. Any other check, Rado, other than those two basic ones?
Well, the question that I have is like, which repos are you thinking to modify? Like just Nephew, the core project, or like the infra? Or...
Nephew project in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ashish, is this code already in experimental, or you're directly pushing it to the Nephew?
Yeah, I'm directly pushing it to the Nephew GitHub in the Nephew SDK repo. It's not currently in the experimental branch, experimental project.
Okay. So obviously, first thing I said is, if it is not unit tested, do you have any test coverage for that?
I've not done any testing coverage of that because it was currently POC. But if you want any sort of coverage, I can do it. That's not an issue. So if it's required.
Any code that is not, if it is experiment, if you want to push it to experimental, you can just push it like that. If you want to push it to definitely.
Yeah, I saw you created a repo on experimental. Right.
I created it for
yeah. Tal did it. Yeah.
So one other thing we could do is you could first push into experimental, get the PR reviews, comments there, and you can push it to. So any first of all, like before even I say that. So any reservations about this pushing into the main Nephew repo from anyone?
I think this is a SIG2 issue, right? They own the code base.
Yeah, so that there's no, if you there's no blocking people from posting PL. Let's put that out of the way. There's no graduation process, so there's no advantage of pushing into experimental. But then if you want to try it out, because experimental supposedly, which it doesn't happen today, but very soon it should go through at least the same basic test, pre-submit checks, at least the basic ones, on experimental. So you would actually get through the process one time in experimental. If it's a really big chunk of code base, that would be a little easier to see. If it hasn't been integration tested with whatever integration test is, so I created an FEO SDK. Obviously, there's no integration test yet at that point. But then if it's like brand new code pulled from the outside, once we do have integration tests, and that could include your stuff too, actually, then we'll have to make sure that that integration test has passed and everything's good before we'll take basically an outside develop code into an FEO. In terms of whether or not this should or should not be part of SDK, I think that's an SDK meeting question, obviously. But then in general, the SDK is very inclusive right now. That's the way things are being run. That we want to support many different flavors because our goal is to onboard vendors, so it's a little less tied up with like is that like fitting a user story or anything. It serves a purpose. It's something that vendors can go on. We are very open. But then for that said, we're not blocking you from putting it there. There'll be people actually reading it. Actually, that gives me a thing to talk about too, because I need to talk. I do work with Rado on making sure that we have our proud and things set up for the FEO SDK repo.
So
and then Rado's a present. So go ahead, Rado.
Yeah.
Yes, about the Nephew experimental. So we can do it like this. Once I get the access rights to create, basically to add this repository or this organization rather to PRAO, and add all the checks which Nephew code goes through. You can submit your code to Nephew experimental, and then go through the same tests that it will go when it's being submitted to Nephew. So that's one way of kind of like testing the whole process and then getting familiar with how it goes in like production, so to speak, repositories.
But that would be optional, right? I put code there that definitely does not have tests because it's meant as an experiment. So it's
it's not blocking. It just shows the logs which you might or
so it'll show you that if you instead go to an FEO, it's going to fail.
Yeah, so
it won't fail you on experimental, but then if you want to put that code instead on FEO project, it would fail. So that was.
I have no intention to. It's a pure experiment. Yeah.
We have. That's what we agree on. I think last time. So we'll at least run some tests and show you that if give you the FEO project experience. And then if you do decide to go into an FEO project, then at least at least you can fix it there.
I wonder though if we're hitting. I imagine not, but I think PRAO can handle thousands. I don't know how much PRAO scales, but
PRAO does a lot more obviously in Kubernetes. Right now it's more like, are we backing it with enough compute power? that is a much bigger question.
We have a big margin left to use. So we're not choking it by
we're not challenging PRAO. Maybe we're sort of challenging how much compute power we're allocating for this moving forward.
Okay, good. Yeah, and if we do get into a problem, we can always remove some experiments.
I really don't know what our situation is for RFN in terms of the budget and funding on maintaining this, because I think we're still eating Google money here.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing I didn't get any answer to my question, like what's the spend limit here? So I'm trying to like minimize.
So I asked that question many times actually to when Lucy was here. She's very vague actually for giving answers, because it's not like a hard limit, because I think during one summit I really want to get to the bottom of this. They're saying, hey, then can we support like 300 people to all launching VMs at the same time? And then I think she said it's not a clear-cut hard limit. So RFN, right now I guess we are officially RFN, but prior to that, we as a company gave money to LF to host this project as an independent project, and then they have administration fees that whatever they grab, and then they would permit us to use up to a certain amount for things that would charge against them, which G Cloud that we use right now is charged against Linux Foundation. So I remember during one summit we'll be monitoring how much money we're using. But then so there's no hard limits. No, there's a hard limit for sure somewhere. There's no limits. We once asked whether or not something like during R1 we asked if we're doing because our VM, our standard VM is about $200 a month, I believe, right? Something like that. And we were asking whether we can run, say, 10 instances of that during R1 for a month, and then they said that would be fine. So those are the kind of queries that I got, but not like how much money can we spend up to that limits. I never got like a real answer.
So actually, Kenny sent some budgeting.
Oh yeah, so there's a budget for the next development cycle. So I
did not even take a look at that.
Yeah, you and I are not at the project pay grade, if you will, to do budget things. Actually, you may be because you're TSC, but then I'm not part of the budget discussions. But I did see that it was posted on TSC.
Yeah, so I did not even. I had
no idea.
I had to admit, I had not even opened that.
But I do know the RFN membership is extremely expensive, so they should be very well funded.
Yeah.
Where was this posted, or is it not like open document?
I think it's posted on TSC. So if you're not part of TSC, you probably didn't see it. No, I mean TSC mailing list is open for everybody, so go ahead and join. But then I think Kenny
mailing list, okay.
Yeah, posted on the TSC mailing list.
So
I myself am not a TSC member. I just saw it on the TSC mailing list.
Okay, but I checked the documents, but they didn't. Were talking about numbers. Basically, we're saying is like we're going to use the same budget that we were using before, like as a base budget. So that's my understanding. Like they were not saying like, so we have this particular number of dollar for particular infrastructure. It's just that you're saying like, well, yeah, we are planning to use exactly the same as we had before. Like,
yeah. In this particular case, we greatly appreciate Timo, Victor, and Bala, who are all TSC members, to fight for budgets.
Yeah, I think it's not like you said. It's not the hard limit, because in 11 we have a pool of projects that do have varying needs. So it's kind of a
do you know? I mean, you've been there for a while. Do you know
right?
How
Yeah. So it's like, and if we come against a situation where we are spending a lot, then somebody will come and tell us that, or ask actually that, what are you guys doing there? Otherwise, I think it's okay. So I think we're not going to be stopped by to do stuff. At least like abruptly.
Yeah, I mean, I think relative to like say ONAP and others, I think we're spending like nothing.
Exactly.
For now.
Yeah, sorry. I think let's get back to the one that's where Ashish is looking for some guidance. Ashish, I can tell you, if the code has to come to the FEO repo, it must have good unit testing coverage for all the files, all the Go files, or at least some decent coverage should be there. That I can tell you. Otherwise, PR people will definitely ask you to do that. So I can give you a heads up on that one. So
so no unit tests on executable code, not like structs, will be an automatic no. I would say.
Yeah. So that is one guidance we can give you. The other thing is whether I think probably we can again in the next 5 minutes. I don't know if we'll be able to get to the conclusion, but you can definitely start on that one, Ashish, for the unit from the unit coverage perspective. And like Rado suggested, if you want to be familiar with the process with the experimental first, and then get the review feedback there, then yeah, it's up to you. In general, I think I asked a question if there is any objections. Tal said we should discuss this in SIG automation meeting. That's the guidance.
Well, at least for this particular case, I think tomorrow's SDK meeting will be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. So those are some of the guidance, Ashish. Definitely, since the end goal is to put it in FEO, definitely you can start looking into the unit testing coverage on that one.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the guidance then.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And definitely CLA. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So that's
it's
what I'm saying. So
approved
if we run it, so those two you get right away, no matter what you do. So CLA and license headers are like basic checks that will go immediately reject you.
Yeah, you can look at the existing files for the headers, then you can just mimic the same thing.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
By the
sorry,
way-
I just wanted to get to the conclusion to that. We can go back to the budget discussion now.
No, that's not. That really isn't much. I mean, Rado was asking whether or not so no one actually get like a fixed value or how much money you can spend up to.
So we're burning around $1,000 a month for
Okay.
for the GCP infrastructure, which is it's not a lot for the size of the project that we have here. So I guess we're good. I
So
also
we are underperforming.
We should spend more.
No. The thing is, like, we're using very lightweight solutions. For all our checking that we do. Prow itself is also a lightweight thing, and it scales very nicely because basically what it just needs more nodes to run the Kubernetes jobs on them. So if at one point we're getting 100,000 jobs or whatever, it just means of adding more nodes there. So we can scale up or down pretty easy. So I guess we're good as long as we're not buying yachts with the Google Cloud.
Yeah, so that's the question, right? Because in the beginning of the project, we thought at some point we didn't know whether we're going to go to FN. We thought we were going to stay independent. We would be enlisting memberships to start buying lab equipment. That would be a really big part of the job for SIG moving forward if it really does happen. But now that we're part of RFN, I think RFN kind of draws upon the projects, ONAB at least, I guess, draws their testing from whatever OPNFV's new name is. I wonder if we can do the same moving forward. Yeah, things like this are probably much more extensive discussions. Yeah, right now we have no plan of purchasing hardware, but then we'll probably need it at some point. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have 2 minutes left. If there's no other questions, then I'll give you guys back 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen, again for running the show. Thank you.
Well, please, guys, run for the chair if you're interested. That's the plug that I'm supposed to give.
Otherwise, you will be re-elected, Steve.
Forcefully re-elected.
There's no re-election.
No choice. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
But thanks.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.